Oh hello, Sonic the Hedgehog. Fuck him. I started this marathon expecting to enjoy revisiting some of my favorite games of all time, and well yeah, I got to do that and even enjoyed a lot of games I wasn't expecting to like as much. That doesn't make up for Sonic and the Secret Rings. We can't expect every game to live up to its potential. I mean, games have budgets, deadlines, mandates, and once they're out, devs often have to move on to the next title. That's where fans come in. Pro tip, if you ever see someone identify using these two words, get the fuck out of there. The fans don't have the restrictions that the original developers have. Sure, they also lack the budget, but that doesn't stop everyone. Some people just out of love for the franchise make mods and sometimes even full-blown remakes for some of these games just to make them more appealing. So, like I did with Metroid, I want to take a look at a few fan-made attempts to fix some of the low points from the games I looked at during this marathon. And as before, all the links to these will be in the description. Let's start out with a few mods, as these don't change much from the base games themselves, for the better and for the mediocre. The Storybook games are both Wii games down to their core. The only way you can play them is with the Wii Remote, and motion controls are essential. But what if they weren't? What if you could play these games with a standard controller? What if someone could make this game good? Yeah, and what if the world was made of pudding? How about that? Secret Rings as a game was designed with a single Wii Remote on its side in mind. Even with a controller, you still move automatically, the jump still sucks ass, and it just doesn't feel as good. It also exposes how much of the level design is really just based around you struggling with the tilt controls, as when you have full control it's a little bit mindless. Standard control does little to nothing to fix this game. It obviously feels a lot better in the real world, but it doesn't do shit for Sonic. Now for Black Knight, it's a game changer. Again, probably because the quality of the game, even with all the waggling of the Wii Remote, but since this game used a nunchuck and was designed around actual combat, as basic as it may be, it feels amazing on a controller, even if I still don't understand how the clashes work. Once again, if you found the bulk of the game to not be engaging, then this isn't really going to help, but if you liked what's here but hated the forced motion controls, then this fixes that, and I highly recommend playing the game like this, as it enhances what I already thought was a pretty fun experience into one where I don't look as stupid playing. Hey, I want to take a second to explain some of my problems with this next mod. Come sit by the fire while I tell you this story. Now, this is entirely on me, but I kinda suck at installing mods. If there are any steps outside of throwing it into Hedge Mod Manager, then I'm already terrified, and even then I'll find a way to fuck it up. Not to mention that Sonic Generations tends to get mad at me if I try to mod it, and I managed to miss this very obvious and helpful section on how to set up this next mod. I was basically fighting for my life to get this to work in any capacity, and I have no clue how I managed to even get this far. So if you're wondering why I missed a ton of the mods that often go hand in hand with this next one that I'm talking about, it's because I'm too stupid to do it right. The Unleashed project probably needs no introduction. The daytime stages from Sonic Unleashed play pretty much identically to the ones in Sonic Generations, so this mod recreates the stages from Unleashed so that they can be played without needing to find an original copy. They're not perfect recreations. Some things from Unleashed, like the QuickTime events, these launchers that are basically also QuickTime events, are replaced with the closest thing that Sonic Generations has to an equivalent. And I know that there are additional mods that recreate those features, but if you were paying attention, you'd know why you're stupid for bringing that up and should be ashamed of yourself. Other than that, these are pretty much perfect replicas of the levels from Unleashed, so if you wanted to play Sonic Unleashed without an Xbox 360, PS3, the Werehog story, metal collecting hub worlds, or terrible performance, then this is a great way to do it. Lastly for mods, I remember a little while back seeing people argue that Sonic Lost World wasn't given a fair chance, and they showed some pretty high level gameplay that made it look pretty enticing. Turns out they're using a mod that makes the game less bad. So out of some weird sense of duty, I added that to the list of games that I would be looking at, and yeah. So this is the Sonic Lost World Improvement mod, a mod that attempts to... Do I have to explain it? So I tried it out and I think it's better. It's a bit faster, parkour doesn't feel as bad, you don't lose speed when turning. I feel like I should like this a lot more, but Lost World's problems are deeper than the controls. Yeah, they're a huge part of why I don't like the game, but even with competent controls, I still just find the game kind of dull. It was a better way to play the game, and if you get any enjoyment out of the base game, then I highly recommend this. but I don't think it was enough to change how I feel about the game overall. But those were all mods, tweaks to the original game, but ultimately still held down by that original release. But what if someone could do more than that? What if someone could make me play Sonic and the Secret Rings again? Well, they did. I heard about Sonic and the Secret Rings Reignited like a week before I started planning this video, and it was big enough to where I felt like I almost had to bring it up. But like, why this game? This is the third time I'm playing Sonic and the Secret Rings in some form or fashion for this channel, and it's my least favorite Sonic game. But this isn't a simple controller mod. This is rebuilding the game from the ground up to make it less Sonic and the Secret Rings. There's not many levels available yet, but what's here is promising. It feels good to control, which is the main reason it works better than the controller mod, even if it took a little getting used to, but I wasn't hating myself for even being in the same room as it. It looks better, it feels better, I wish I could say more, but because what's here is so limited, there isn't much other than it's really good so far. Now for the game that everyone was expecting to be in this video, Project 06. Is amazing in a way that I never would have expected, seeing as the original 06 was so bad that my body initiated self-destruct after I played it and ruptured my fucking appendix. So like every other game here, someone decided to try and fix the game because there was promise here. The game wasn't broken on a fundamental level, it could be salvaged, which brought about Project 06. I downloaded this pretty much immediately after beating the original game because man was I in need for something even decent. I never really looked into the project before my video. I didn't think I needed to. I could imagine what Sonic 06 would play like if it wasn't broken. But I was stunned by just how much better this really is. Firstly, it's a massive visual improvement, but playing it is simply amazing. Playing as Sonic is pretty much exactly what you'd think. It's like the adventure games, but Tails and Knuckles sections no longer bog down the game even more. Tails has an actual attack, and the same goes for Rouge and Amy. Shadow is a massive improvement because he doesn't have that homing attack delay like he did before. Unless an enemy takes more than one hit, he'll bounce off just like Sonic does. And the vehicles also feel a lot better. Silver is... well, I think he had the least changes. Outside of the game just functioning, he didn't really need anything other than maybe a speed boost. The game functioning does demote him to my least favorite to play as, since he was only spared before, since his lack of speed, to me at least, felt like it was keeping the game from bugging out too much. But Blaze has had a massive improvement, and that's really just because every ability is now mapped to a different button. Finally, no more one button bullshit. Now it's completely smooth to play and it's simply amazing. If you can, I'd say you have to play this, specifically after playing the original, because man, the jump in quality is nuts. Lastly, I want to look at another mod that at first I thought was just another tweak to fix Sonic Forces and make it less boring, but upon actually playing it, it's much more of its own thing than I ever would have thought. Sonic Forces Overclock takes place after Sonic Forces, with Metal Sonic getting his hands on the Phantom Ruby and making it more powerful so he and Infinite can take over the world without Eggman's control over them. It's nothing crazy, the story is just a bunch of encounters and then the good guys win in the end, but I love the presentation, the voice acting. Even before starting the game properly, I'm already massively impressed. And as short as this game is, the levels are huge improvements from Forces. They're longer, they're more difficult, have a ton of alternate paths, the boost works like it did before. This is great. It only takes about an hour to beat along with episode Metal, and there's not much to say about it that isn't just repeating what I've said about Project 06 or even the other boost games. But I've never seen a mod go this far to write a new story, draw cutscenes, voice act them. I'm sure there are other who have or are in the process of making something like this, but this one impressed me from the moment I started all the way until my computer couldn't handle it and OBS started freezing during the final boss. Oh, my computer might not be able to handle it. Okay, it looks normal now. I might have lost that entire boss fight. Like I said before, all links to these will be in the description, and I heavily implore you to check all of them out. Even if it won't massively improve a game you're not a big fan of, these are still really good ways to experience these games again. Like, I don't plan on ever playing Sonic Lost World again in my life, but if I do, it'll probably be with the improvement mod. But I've spoken enough about Sonic for a while. It's time for a new marathon that is entirely based on recent announcements. I'm sure you can guess what it is. We're going back to a series, picking up where I left off, and man, am I excited for it. So for now, farewell, Sonic, forever. Or until the new game comes out anyway.